Alright, so what is the conjugate system? The conjugate system is not a program, it is a system. And the reason for that is because it is always changing. You're changing exercises all the time, and we'll explain that in later detail. And it is all about not getting injured and being recovered all the time. So with this system, you'll never need to take a deload in your life, which is the great thing I love about it. Okay, so on Monday, we've got max lower. So on maximum lower, we will perform a 1 rep max of a squat or deadlift variant. And this is very important. So if you perform just a squat or a regular deadlift, you will find yourself not being recovered at all, and so you do need to change the variant around if you're going to max out every single week. Or you can perform 5 rep max good morning, never do 1 rep max good morning because that's just unproductive. Examples of a variant of the squat or deadlift could be for a squat, a front squat, a squat with bands, a box squat with bands, a squat with chains, a box squat with chains, and the list goes on. Same you could say for deadlift, deadlift with bands, deadlift with chains, conventional, sumo, all different types of that, block pulls, rack pulls. Okay, so then after your 1 rep max, you will have a supplemental lift. So this can be any squat or deadlift variant, once again, in the 3 to 5 rep range. So if you did a 1 rep max squat, you should probably be doing a good morning or a deadlift variant. So if you did a deadlift for your 1 rep max, you should be doing a squat variant. So say I did a deadlift, I'll do a front squat maybe, or I could do if I did a squat, maybe I'll do a hack squat for my deadlift variant or an RDL. So the list goes on. Most people will work up to a 5 rep max, or they'll do a 5x5, a 3x5, anything in that 3 to 5 rep range. Okay, so after supplemental lift, we have the accessories. For your supplemental lifts and accessory movements, you're rotating them every 3 weeks. For your accessories, it can be really anything that works the low back, glutes and hams, or the quads. So this will be in the 8 to 12 rep range. Usually you should pick 2 exercises for this. So maybe you want to work the low back, maybe choose a hyperextension. Maybe for the glutes and hams, maybe you want to do a glute ham raise. For the quads, maybe you want to do a leg extension. So yeah, 2 exercises, 8 to 12 reps. For max effort upper, you will have a 1 rep max bench press variant. So examples of a 1 rep max bench variant is a floor press, a regular bench press, a bench press with bands, a bench press with chains, a board press, and really the list goes on. So you will be rotating that. The same thing with that. You will rotate it weekly. At least choose 6 exercises to rotate between. Okay, for your supplemental lift for max effort upper, you could use a bench press variant, a dumbbell bench, or a dip. I recommend in the 3 to 5 rep range. But the dumbbell bench, I recommend that for 8 to 12 reps. For your accessory lift, you should always do a lat movement. Always do a lat movement. It can be a vertical pull like a pull-up, or it can be a row. Don't always stick to one though. You should always change those. And for your second movement for accessories, you could do triceps or shoulders. I should probably put and or there. You could do triceps and shoulders if you wanted to. It could be like for triceps, you could have a skull crusher, JM press. It should be light though, as I should say it's in the 8 to 15 rep range. Okay, and for dynamic lower, this is where things get a little bit more complicated. Dynamic effort, all about speed. So week 1, you will do 50% of your 1 rep max for the squat, deadlift, or bench if you're on Saturday. So I just combine all these into one. So Saturday, for bench press, you're going to be doing the same thing for the squat and deadlift. So 50% raw weight, which is just straight weight, and then plus 25% band tension of your 1 rep max. So when you perform that, you will be doing 2 reps for squat and deadlift as fast as you can. And week 2, it's just up by 5%. Week 3, up by 5%, and then you start back from week 1 after on week 4. So it's all about moving it as fast as you can. For bench press, you're going to be doing 3 reps. So say you're on week 1, 50% plus 25% bands, you'll be doing 3 reps as fast as you possibly can, and it can also be chains. You can rotate that as well. And you can also do raw weight. You do not need bands at all. If you're doing raw weight, up this by 5%, up this by 5%, up that by 5%. So if you do not have access to bands or chains, up all of those by 5%, and you should be good and repping them as fast as you can. Now, if you're curious to why we rep as fast as we possibly can these days, it's because force equals mass times acceleration. If we increase acceleration and we keep mass constant, guess what? We get the same amount of force. So if we increase mass and keep acceleration constant, we're getting the same amount of force. So theoretically, we can lift a lighter load and produce the same amount of force we would with a heavier weight. Alright, so for dynamic lower, supplemental and accessories mainly stay the same. But for Saturday on upper, they do change just slightly. Alright, for your supplemental lift on Saturday, it might be a little bit different from what you see on Wednesday. It all depends on what your weakness is. If you have weaker shoulders, you should be doing an overhead press variant. If you have weak triceps, you should be doing a partial bench variant. And I do recommend that you probably should go for volume on these. You should probably go in the 8 to 12 rep range